The chief executive announced 7 new measures aimed at increasing the supply of subsidised housing. The target is to provide at least 100,000 units over the 5 years, starting from 2018. 4 plots of land originally set aside for the My Home purchase plan will be used for building home ownership scheme flats instead. Temily Tianmay reports.
In laying out his housing policy today, the chief executive talked about his visit to a subdivided flat in Sham Shui Po. Mrs. Fong, who lives in one such flat, says this is already an improvement from the family's previous home.
Mrs. Fong has been living here with her family of 3 while they wait for public housing. And in this small space, the restroom also doubles as the kitchen.
It is this kind of poor living condition the government wants to improve. While the chief executive acknowledged that the home ownership by the middle class is crucial to social stability, he said grassroots families need government help to meet their housing needs.
Our policy objective for housing are to 1. Assist grassroots families to secure public housing to meet their basic housing needs. 2. Assist the public to choose accommodation according to their affordability and personal circumstances, and encourage those who can afford it to buy their own homes. 3. Provide subsidized home ownership flats on top of PRH so as to build a progressive housing ladder. And 4. Maintain the healthy and steady development of the private property market, with priorities to be given to meet Hong Kong permanent residents' needs.
Over the past 5 years, an average of 24,800 new flats were built each year in the public and private sectors combined. In the middle of last year, the vacancy rate of private residential flats reached a 15-year low of 4%. The new target is to provide at least 100,000 new public housing units over the 5 years starting from 2018. That's about 5,000 more per year compared with the existing target. The Housing Department will clamp down on abuse of the public housing system with the aim of recovering more than 7,000 units a year. Together with newly completed flats, over 22,000 public housing flats will be available for allocation each year. The Housing Society will be invited to develop 2 sites, one in Sha Tin and the other in Sha Tau Kok, providing an additional 1,000 subsidized housing flats. 2,100 new home ownership scheme flats, meanwhile, will be offered for pre-sale next year. 4 plots of land originally earmarked for the My Home purchase plan will be used for the home ownership scheme instead. The Housing and Transport Bureau is to review the progress and speed of public housing construction, examine all existing projects and increase the plot ratio where appropriate. On the private housing market, the chief executive expects about 67,000 new flats to come onto the market over the next 3 to 4 years. And the total number of new flats, both private and public, will increase significantly from what it was in the past 5 years. On increasing the supply of land for housing, the chief executive admitted that it would be impossible for the community to come to a consensus on this, and neither should the government wait for such consensus.
The government will strive to balance different interests when making choices, but the fact is that the community will never reach a full consensus over such issues. In fact, we cannot afford to and should not wait for a full consensus.
Some of those tough decisions are whether land in northeast New Territories should remain as countryside or be open to development. Should land at the Kai Tak development area be used for a sports complex or for residential purposes? The government aims to provide more than 300 hectares of residential land in the short to medium term, on which about 128,000 flats will be built. The land will include 13 sites in greenbelt areas which might be used for housing. 7 of those plots will be rezoned by 2017, providing land for about 13,500 flats. There is no timetable yet for the other 6 plots, which can provide another 9,500 flats. Another housing plan involving 110 hectares at Kam Tin South West Rail Kam Shong Road Station, Pat Heung Maintenance Depot and the surrounding area will go ahead. The chief executive will consider relaxing or lifting a moratorium on the sale of new land or modification to lease in Pok Fulam and the mid-levels. In the long term, there is a plan for a new town the size of Fan Leng or Sheung Shui in New Territories North and the Hung Shui Kyu New Development Area. Some of the land there may be reserved for part of the housing supply under the Hong Kong Property for Hong Kong People policy. Further reclamation outside Victoria Harbour is also in the pipeline. For example, in Lantau North, Leung Chun-ying in Tuen Mun, Ching Yi West and the area at Ma Liu Shui near the Shing Mun River. The target is to come up with about 3,000 hectares of land. A land supply commission chaired by the Financial Secretary will handle expected controversies on land rights, environmental protection, housing resettlement and political concerns. Temily Tianmay, TVB News.